profession, but I felt I needed additional skills to be able to better understand and articulate some of the problems I was dealing with on a daily basis in the classroom. I wanted to be able to advocate more effectively for my students, most of whom are Indigenous, and I wanted to know how to go about making institutional changes. I thought studying law would give me insights I lacked. I was right, but the most valuable education I received was not the one I'd been expecting. I began law school in 2006. To say it was difficult is an understatement. Oh, it wasn't the crushing workload or the competitive peers, and it wasn't even studying law while raising 2 daughters. It was the worldview that informed every course. I thought I was prepared for this. After all, I had spent 17 years in the Canadian system of education. I had forced myself to read all the great European philosophers, and I thought I already understood the worldview. Yet, as I squirmed uncomfortably through each property law session, it dawned on me that, although I had been exposed to these ideas before, they had never been laid before me so clearly and concretely. And boy, were they different from the way I had been raised to see the world. I didn't know how to process any of this until one day I went to get a pint with a couple of classmates. It sounds like the beginning of a joke. A Métis, a liberal, and a conservative walk into a bar. Well, they actually were members of these political parties and were the first people I'd ever met who knew that much about Canadian politics. By now, I've mythologized these conversations because they had such a profound impact on me. But at the time, it was just 3 people debating topics they'd learned in class. This was an opportunity to sit down with people who were my friends and who had very clear yet different political beliefs from my own. We weren't out to prove each other wrong or win anything. We were trying to understand and be understood. We wanted to leave these conversations as friends. Our discussions about Indigenous issues were unlike anything I'd ever experienced before because they were respectful. There were times when emotions ran high because the issues we were discussing were challenging and very personal. When you are talking about the relationship between Indigenous peoples and Canada, it is very difficult for the conversations not to get personal if you live on these lands. Nonetheless, despite the fact we had very deep political differences, and I mean Mariana Trench-sized differences, all 3 of us managed to really listen to what the others were saying, and to be truly heard in return. For me, these conversations were life-changing, and are the part of my legal education I value the most. We did not come out of these conversations in full agreement, and in many situations we had to agree to disagree. But we did come out of them with a deeper understanding of one another's concerns and beliefs. Those conversations are the reason this book exists. Each one of the pieces presented here is written as though you and I are sitting down together having a discussion. Obviously, the conversation is one-sided, as I am trying to present my point of view to you. But always, in the back of my mind, I'm speaking to friends. Sometimes, I invoke the counter-arguments or questions I was actually presented with, or that I have had in subsequent conversations with others. They are not the only counter-arguments or questions that are possible, but when I present them, it is because I believe they are questions many people have on these topics. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, and I am certainly not trying to represent liberal or conservative viewpoints. I do not claim to understand the political ideologies involved well enough to do that. I am trying to make myself understood, and it is entirely up to you to evaluate this information as you will. My writing will not always be received as polite. I warn you now. I am indeed impatient with certain claims, and I have been battling the same stereotypes for nearly 2 decades. This can wear on a person. Sometimes I am going to be straight out sarcastic and brusque. It is extremely important readers of this book remind themselves